We're out here with Reed Harris, getting ready for, we're a little ways off for the next WEC card, but a lot of cool things going on. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm really good.
Yeah,
a little
thanks.
sick, a little swine flu, so be careful.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about the upcoming card here in a second. I want to first get into some of the new acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a point I've made very often. I do think there are a lot of elite 155-pounders who can move down, and I think the stigma needs to disappear. And we've seen it, now it's starting to happen with a guy like Manny Gambirian.
Right. Yeah. You know, Manny told us that he'd always fought at 55 because that's the only place there was to go and fight at that level, at the UFC type level. You know, now that we've got the 45 and 35 divisions, he's going to come down to his natural fighting weight, which is 45.
Right. And you guys are going to be looking to make more acquisitions like that, whether it's in or out of the organization. And kind of what's the reaction from, have you talked to other UFC fighters and said, you know, you may want to move down? Yeah,
we're talking to guys all the time, and what's funny is a lot of times they come to us and say, you know, seriously, I'd like to come down and fight at 45. So I think in the future we will see a lot of guys coming down, and you know, at 55 in the UFC, it certainly is a marquee, you know, fighting spot for a guy that, you know, the UFC is obviously the biggest game out there, but at 35 and 45, you know, we're the best in the world right now. We have the best lightweight fighters in the world.
Well, I'll give you a good example. Coming up at the next UFC event, UFC 98, I think Frank Edgar potentially could be as good as any guy that you have at 45. He's going to fight Sean Shirk. I think he's going to be dwarfed by Shirk, who's not tall, but he's big.
Shirk's big, man.
And
he's
Edgar,
big, yeah.
Edgar had a tough time against Gray Maynard, and I just don't see why anyone would look at WEC unless the money's that much less, and I don't think it is.
No, it isn't. No, right.
Pay-per-view, that's about it.
You know, I'll tell you, and I see guys like Maynard, and you know, when I meet them, they're big guys. I mean, they're a lot bigger than you think they are, and how you know, like Manuel, he's what, 5'4" maybe or something.
Right.
I mean, it just seems like a natural for him to come in and fight guys that are more his own size, and we'll see how he does. It's like a lot of the fighters tell me moving down in weight is not necessarily making it easier. These guys sometimes are faster, they're in better shape. Plus, these guys are naturally that weight and have fought at that weight for a long time. So we'll see what happens. All
right. On the flip side of that, your reaction to Miguel Torres talking the other way, that eventually he may want to go to UFC and fight at 155. How do you deal with that challenge?
Well, I talked to Miguel about that, and he said, well, that's not really what I said, but he said, you know, if he in his fantasy league, he would like to fight this guy or that guy, but he's happy where he's at. He loves WEC. We are constantly bringing guys in, you know, like Mizugaki, to fight him that are top-level guys, and the longer we're out there, the more guys we got coming to us. You know, I get calls every day from managers saying, "Look, I've had this guy in my gym for a couple of years. He's fought at 55 in some of the bigger or smaller shows.
Right.
He'd like to come in and fight at 45 or 35." So I mean, I've got Joseph Benavidez out there. I've got a bunch of guys out there that want to fight Miguel, and it's funny because they're not afraid of him at all. They want to fight him.
The Japanese stars, how's that going? You getting calls? You starting to consider some of the big names?
Yeah, we you know, just really in the last 6 months or 8 months, we've started to get a lot of calls, and you know, the reason we called Mizugaki for that Torres fight is he had publicly come out and said, I want to fight for WEC. I want to fight the best guys in the world at 135 pounds. The best guys in the world are at WEC, which we didn't see a lot of from Japan for a long time. Right. You know, and we're now starting to see that, and we've actually had guys contact us that are not under contract yet that we're working on. So I've got some names I think that'll be interesting to you guys in the next few months.